And this evening, on Thursday, April 22nd, we will look at Psalm 131 and 132 as we make our way toward the end of the book of Psalms and toward the end of these twice weekly devotions too. It's it's interesting for me because frequently now on my Facebook, a memory from a year ago pops up, and I don't like to watch myself, so I haven't actually watched them, but they pop up, and it just gives me some reminders, I think, about this past year and all of the things that we have been through. And while we are not yet out of it completely, we are definitely in a different place in so many different ways from a year ago, are we not? And it has been a joy and a privilege to be with you over these past many months, especially as we've been walking through the book of Psalms. And so we are getting closer, but still have a little ways to go to get to 150. Like I said, this evening 131 and 132. And 131, I'm actually just going to put a song in the comments section. It's a very short psalm of trust, and I'm just going to give it to you in the form of music tonight for your hopefully enjoyment, meditation, or devotion. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time instead on Psalm 132. Both of these are still Psalms of Ascent. We've had, I think there's 15 altogether, and two more after this. Psalms 130 through 134 are these Psalms of Ascent that pilgrims would have used on their journey toward Jerusalem for festivals. Psalm 132 is actually a royal psalm, and the only royal psalm in the Psalms of Ascent, and there are only about 11 or 12 royal psalms that are scattered throughout the book of Psalms in general. And so they would have been used, and you probably would remember some. I apologize, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know we've done some in the past, ones that would be celebrating certain events in the life of a king. And so I'm going to read the psalm in just a minute, but I wanted to share with you something that I'd come across, because the question was, why would we care about royal psalms, right? They were celebrating the life of the king. You're going to hear it here in this psalm, a psalm to King David. It talks about, recounts the promises that David made and the promises that God made in return, which included always keeping a descendant of David on the throne as long as the covenant was kept. And so what I'd come across was whatever happened to those promises, because we know, of course, that that the people of Israel broke those promises again and again and again. And God forgave them again and again and again and stayed true to God's promises. But the way the promises are implemented perhaps have changed over time as well. So before I read the psalm, I just wanted to read to you a little bit about this. And so it says, when the Babylonians captured and then burned Jerusalem in 587 BC, the chosen person was taken into exile and the chosen place was destroyed. The collection of writings from Deuteronomy through 2 Kings were then composed to answer the question, why did the Lord let that happen, right? Why did God not keep God's promise, or it appeared to be that way anyway? The answer was that Jerusalem and the monarchy were destroyed because the people had broken the covenant. King after king failed to measure up. Time and again, people failed to establish justice, as the prophets pointed out over and over again. But the royal psalms have survived, and the promises they contained were transposed into a new key. What were originally descriptions of the ruling king were pushed into the future, and taken together provided a portrait of a great future king, a messianic king, a Messiah, the anointed one who would come and save us from the line of David. The great king would rule with righteousness and justice, bring about peace, rule forever, seated at the right hand of the God. And I bet it's sounding familiar to you, because we as Christians understand that this messianic king was Jesus Christ, and that prophecy, that promise was fulfilled with his birth at Bethlehem, and certainly with his death and resurrection in Israel, in Jerusalem. And we see that then throughout the testimony of the New Testament as well. And so when we hear this psalm, we understand that then it was at a certain point in time talking about a future monarchy, and we recognize it today having been fulfilled in the person of Jesus Christ. So, Psalm 132. O Lord, remember in David's favor all the hardships he endured, how he swore to the Lord and vowed to the Mighty One of Jacob, I will not enter my house or get into my bed. I will not give sleep to my eyes or slumber to my eyelids until I find a place for the Lord, a dwelling place for the Mighty One of Jacob. This is talking about or referencing Jacob bringing the Ark of the Covenant into Jerusalem and finding a holy place for it. We heard of it in Ephrathah. We found it in the fields of Jaar. Let us go to his dwelling place. Let us worship at his footstool. Rise up, O Lord, and go to your resting place, you and the ark of your might. Let your priests be clothed with righteousness, and let your faithful shout for joy. For your servant David's sake, do not turn away from the face of your anointed one. The Lord swore to David a sure oath from which he will not turn back. One of the sons of your body I will set on your throne. If your sons keep my covenant and my decrees that I shall teach them, their sons also forevermore shall sit on your throne. So you hear that promise of the line of David continuing. For the Lord has chosen Zion. He has desired it for his habitation. This is my resting place forever. Here I will reside, for I have desired it. I will abundantly bless its provisions. I will satisfy its poor with bread. In priests I will clothe with salvation, and its faithful will shout for joy. There I will cause a horn to sprout up for David. I have prepared a lamp for my anointed one. His enemies I will clothe with disgrace, but on him his crown will gleam. May those words offer you joy, I think, this evening as we give thanks and praise for our Messiah, for Jesus Christ, who has indeed saved us and has fulfilled those promises on our behalf in so many ways. Have a great evening. Enjoy this warmer weather, and I will see you again on Tuesday.